Please not post messages in the chat. Where items are for noting or where there has been no disagreement expressed, the convener will call for any member who has a contrary view to indicate this through the chat, otherwise the item will be agreed. Although we are operating in a different way, this is still a formal meeting of the Council, and the required standards of behaviour and discussion are the same as in a face-to-face meeting. Standing orders will apply to the proceedings, and the terms of the Councillors' Code of Conduct will also apply in the usual way. Does any member have any queries regarding this procedure? There are no queries, convener, so I'll now ask the Committee Services Officer to take a roll call for the minute. Thank you.
Thanks, Roger. Convener.
I'm here.
Councillor Anderson.
I'm here.
Councillor Black.
Present.
Lord Provost Campbell.
Present.
Deputy Lord Provost Cordell.
Present.
Bailey Dawson.
Present.
Councillor El Nakla.
Present.
Councillor Flynn.
Good evening. Present.
Councillor Lynn.
Present.
Councillor Mills.
Present.
Bailey Roberts.
Good evening, I'm here.
Councillor Rome.
Good evening, I'm here.
Bailey Sowers.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Short.
Here.
Councillor Smith.
I'm here.
Councillor Toland.
I am here.
Bailey Keenan.
Present.
Councillor Cruikshank.
Present.
Councillor Finnegan.
Good evening, I'm here.
Councillor McHugh.
Present.
Councillor McIrvin.
Present.
Councillor Scullen.
Present.
Councillor Shears.
Present.
Bailey Wright.
Present.
Bailey McPherson.
Good evening, present.
Councillor Coleman.
Good evening, present.
Councillor Crichton.
I'm here.
Councillor Duncan.
Here.
Bailey Scott.
Here.
Mrs McVean.
Present.
Mrs Little.
Present.
Mr Gibson.
Present.
Ms Barclay. Mrs Javid.
Present.
Mr Anderson McGuinness. And Miss Day.
Present.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call.
Okay, thank you, Arlene. Can you just move on to the next item of business, please?
Thanks. That takes us on to item 1, which is declaration of interest. Are there any declarations?
Seeing MD indicates. Move on, please.
Item 2, pupil representation on the Children, Families and Communities Committee. You're asked to approve the appointment.
Okay, so on behalf of the committee, I just want to welcome Eva Day to the committee tonight, to your first committee. Welcome to coming along, and hope you enjoy taking part in committees, and certainly look forward to your contributions throughout. So welcome to your first committee. Okay, and with that, I think that can be noted. Is that agreed? Okay.
That takes us on to item 3, progress update, senior phase attainment. You're asked to agree the recommendations.
Okay, Councillor Duncan, I see you've indicated you've got a question and a comment.
Yeah, thanks, convener. Yeah, just a quick comment really on behalf of our group, just to say that congratulations to the pupils for all the wonderful results they've achieved, and obviously that's all down to hard work, and also hard work on and encouragement and support on behalf of the teaching staff as well. So certainly that's all very valued. And my question really is concerning attainment. The report indicates that peak levels of attainment were achieved in 2022. That's both in literacy and numeracy, but that dropped in 2023 and 2024. And there's a gap in the numeracy attainment reported on page 9 between the SIMD quintiles 1 and 5, which has grown since 2022. Really just looking for the committee to be given assurances that actions are being taken to sort of tackle this and close the gap.
Okay, I'll pass over to Mr. Fleming to answer your question.
Thank you very much for the question, Councillor Duncan, and indeed your comments as well. I think it's not as straightforward as saying there's been an overall decline. If you look at page 2 of the main report, it will talk about the literacy at level 4 and level 5 and some steadying, and it will also talk about a reduction in literacy with regards to poverty-related attainment gap. So in particular, the work done to make sure that our young people living in the most deprived communities improve their literacy levels. And of course, that's not consistent, as you highlight, so it does depend on what measure you look at, whether it's S6 based on S4 or indeed S6 based on S6. But just to give you a reassurance, we do have a very focused plan on improving literacy and numeracy, some of which is highlighted in the next steps. That includes working directly with Education Scotland, Dundee local authority, doing a bespoke programme, working directly with our principal teachers of literacy and numeracy in every secondary school across the city. And we have the lead of our pedagogy team here is the teacher rep, Julie Barclay, who also has a very specific plan around the literacy strategy, which goes from 3 to 18 to improve in the long term as well. So happy to provide more detail after committee, but hopefully it gives you some reassurance and an overview of what we're doing to improve, further improve attainment. Councillor Duncan.
Okay. Are you happy with that response, Councillor Duncan?
Yes, I mean, it's most reassuring, and I think we can all take, positives away from that. Thank you.
Okay. I don't see anybody else indicating, so can this report be agreed? Okay.
Thank you. That takes us on to item 4, Tayside Plan for Infants, Children, Young People and Families 2023 to 26, Annual Progress Report 23 to 24. You're asked to agree the recommendations.
Okay. Councillor Crichton.
Thank you, Convener. Just a comment from me on behalf of my group. I think, my group thinks there's a lot of positive information in this report, but it's really sad, frankly, that the Scottish Government is intending to axe the Regional Improvement Collaborative funding at the end of the financial year. I would hope that the Cabinet Secretary for Finance can reconsider this matter, as I know that it delivers a lot of good things. With regards to the really positive actions undertaken and listed on page 39, support to allow schools to apply for the Rights Respecting Schools Award. And it is really good to see schools having a lot of success. I know that in myself and Dale McPherson's ward in the West End, Harris Academy has received its Silver Rights Respecting School Award, and I congratulate Harris and all the other schools who have had success with these awards, and it really shows the success of our children and young people and the teachers and everything that's going on in our education system in Dundee.
No, thank you for those comments, and certainly agree with you congratulating our schools. You know, mentioned Harris, but also a number of other schools who have achieved those awards as well. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else wishing to come in, so with that, can this report be agreed? Okay, Arlene.
That takes us on to item 5, consultation on the closure of St Pius Roman Catholic Primary School and Nursery. This is for approval.
Okay, Bill McPherson, I see you have a question, so I'll bring you in.
Yes, thanks indeed, and grateful to officers for the update following the discussion that took place back on the 28th of October. I note with, in a positive sense, the information in para 4 around the church and representatives of the Children's and Family Service agreeing to work in partnership to consider a wider strategic approach looking at the provision of Catholic education across the whole city. I was just really wondering if officers could give some further information about timescales, and I presume there will be updates and reporting back to this committee on that. I think it's a welcome development, but I'd be keen to get some idea, really more than anything, about timescales and reporting back to elected members and indeed the other members of the Children's, Families and Communities Committee. Thank you, Convener.
Okay, I'll pass over to Mrs May to respond to your question.
Thank you, Convener, and thanks to Bill McPherson for the question. Yes, we were delighted to have that meeting and look at a way forward together, working in partnership with our church reps and the diocese. So yes, we've got meetings planned for early in the new year to start that conversation. We're still confirming who will be part of that working group, because we'll want some head teachers to be involved in that, as well as officers from the council and the church reps. So these plans are going ahead, and yeah, we would want to bring back a report to committee, depending on the result tonight. If we're moving forward in the consultation process, then we would be returning to committee with the update report as the result of the consultation, and including that further work that we would want to start soon in the new year.
Okay, I'm grateful for that response from Mrs May. Thanks, Convener.
No, thank you, Bill McPherson. Bailey Keenan.
Thanks, Convener. Can't help but feel for the area of Douglas at the moment, given that, you know, our aspiration as a city would have 20-minute communities, yet Douglas seems to be under the endless consultation period of a library, a community centre, a sports facility, and now a school. I'm not looking to stand in the way of that consultation going ahead, given that I've spoke to the church reps and indeed the bishop is reasonably happy for it to go ahead, but will take on board the comments that parents made. And if it's about retaining their school, you'll look to try to retain that. I suppose what I'm looking for is some kind of reassurance that in the consultation, that everything is taken into account when there's a suggestion made by people in the Douglas community about perhaps something that would manage to retain the school within that area, that it's given full consideration. And the reason for asking that is back in the consultation, when it was about Powery and Claypot's Castle coming together, which was a Douglas primary school, then the initial consultation was about moving children quite a distance by bus to another area, and clearly parents didn't want that and looked for something in their local area. So I'm hoping that we can get the reassurance to officers and indeed the administration that should there be a suggestion come forward, it will be given full consideration.
I'll pass to Mrs May in a second, but just to give assurance from our perspective that absolutely this is the point of consultation. If something comes out of consultation we think can be done, then absolutely we will look at it, look at everything that comes forward. But Mrs May, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Just to reassure committee and indeed Bailey Keenan that we would give a commitment to consider all feedback and including suggestions from that consultation, and then we would look to see what was possible as a result of that.
Happy with that, Bailey Keenan? Yep. Okay, I'm not seeing any other. Oh, apologies. Councillor McHugh, you've got your hand up. So, Councillor McHugh.
Thank you. I'd be interested to know if there will be a question in the consultation that asks, should the school be closed? And I say this because there's a current consultation on the proposed closure of 4 facilities in the East End and North East wards. And that doesn't ask that question. And it's titled consultation on the East End campus, when actually it's a consultation on the closure of 4 centres. So I'd like some clarity that the key question here for parents and others interested in this school and this area, will they be asked if the school should be closed or remain open?
Yeah, I'll pass to Mrs May.
Thank you, Convener, and thank you, Councillor McHugh. The consultation is on the closure of St Pius, the 10th Roman Catholic Primary School and its nursery class. That is the consultation question. And the wider impact of that is to consider the impact on the community, that wider school community, and hence that looking at, in conjunction with that, the catchment of the other schools that would be impacted by that closure. So the question is about the closure of St Pius.
Yeah, does that answer your question, Councillor McHugh?
No, if I could just come back. Yes, I understand that, but will the question be asked, should this school be closed or remain open? Will parents be given that choice?
Mrs May, is there any way you can clarify further for Councillor McHugh?
I'm not sure if we need to take this conversation offline and have a deeper conversation around it, but that we are proposing to consider the closure of St Pius School. So I think that's quite clear, Convener.
Yeah, I don't know, Councillor McHugh, if it might be helpful for you to speak to Mrs May or Mr Fleming after meeting offline, and maybe just get the clarity and assurance that you're seeking. But I think
yes, I can do that, but I imagine all elected members would be interested in that question.
I'm more than happy for Mrs May, once you've had that conversation, to clarify what you're looking for that to be sent to all elected members and the non-elected members of the committee. That isn't a problem. Okay, Mrs Little, I think you had your hand up as well.
Yes, thank you. Just to kind of reiterate what Bailey Keenan has said, but first of all, the church feel that any kind of further delay in the consultation is not productive for anyone. And we feel at this stage we are really keen to engage with the school and the families and all the stakeholders to establish their views and their opinions and things that they might like to put forward for discussion. And also, like Bailey Keenan, we are keen that any possible options that arise from the consultation would be considered.
Oh, thank you, Mr Lowe. And I think also Mrs May has given that reassurance, and I will as well, that absolutely if anything else comes out of the consultation, that we will certainly consider and make decision based on what's proposed. And that's certainly a guarantee that we'll bring that back to committee on what the outcome of the consultation looks like. Okay. I'm not seeing anybody else wishing to come in, so with that, can this be approved? Okay, that's agreed. Okay, and I think that is the end of Children, Families and Community, so thank you.
Okay, good evening to Neighbourhood Regeneration, Housing and Estate Management Committee. Arlene, could you take us forward, please?
Thanks, Convener. Item 1, declaration of interest. Are there any declarations?
Sorry. Okay, Wendy, apologies.
Yeah, I've got a declaration on item 3 because that will affect where I live.
Okay, thank you. And I see no more. Thank you, Arlene.
Okay, that takes us on to item 2, scope of heating, kitchen, bathrooms and rewiring, and this is for approval.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Duncan, you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Convener. I mean, firstly, obviously, any improvement to the housing stock is very welcome indeed. But my quick question really is with regards to 5.1. In the reports, this indicates it's a direct award to construction services. And given that I'm a member of the Housing Best Value Working Group, I just wondered if we can be sure that we are actually getting best value in going down this route. In other words, what were the options considered?
Louise, are you able to address that, please?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is part of our partnership work stream, and construction services have got a history in delivering this work stream successfully. We do undertake benchmarking exercises, and this would be something that we could bring back and share with members in due course.
Councillor Duncan, is that okay? Are you looking to come in?
Just very briefly. I mean, I think that's fine, but any sort of further light that can be shed upon it would be reassuring. Thanks.
Thank you. I see no more questions. So is this report agreed? Thank you. Arlene, please.
Item 3, sourcing strategy for the procurement of supply-only replacement windows and doors and supply and install replacement windows and doors, and this is for approval.
Bailey Wright.
Sorry, I'm on the item 3, page 4, 4.5, and it's the statement on windows for all 1990s, what happened at that particular time. And I see that you do have a list of priorities, and I'm curious to know if this will include people who have had their windows condemned, some of them over the last 2 years. Some are very disabled or elderly, and actually some of them are in sheltered housing. And they're complaining about sitting in their houses with the freezing cold and drafts coming around their windows. And on one occasion was told that they wouldn't have got it, but to put up thicker curtains. So what I really need to know is, will they be part of the priorities?
Okay, Louise, you take that, please.
Thank you for the question, Bailey Wright. So what I can share with members is the assessment criteria that looks at how we determine where we're going to in terms of replacing windows across our stock. In terms of individual windows, which is some of what you referred to, so we do have an individual's budget within our capital programme, and what we do is undertake one-off window replacements to those properties as they're identified through our inspection regime.
Thank you. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Provost. My substantive questions have been answered, but the Liberal Democrat Group welcomes this report, and the members of this committee will recall that we have previously highlighted on the need to upgrade windows, in particular for so many of our tenants. And the last major effort to improve windows was in the 1990s, agreed before I was born. So a lot of these windows are actually now over 30 years old. Highlights how many are just in declining state of repair. I'm grateful that the criteria will be shared, but will the scoring for development also please be shared to members as well? Will that be possible, please?
Yep, that's not a problem, Councillor Coleman. Thank you. Councillor Flynn.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel. I'd just like to also welcome the report. I think the investment we're seeing here is just a recognition of the work that's needing to be done within the city and with the housing stock as per the previous report. And we see a substantial amount of £7.5 million being spent here on the windows, etc. And I think everyone within the area, I'm sure, will welcome the fact that this has been brought forward. So thanks to the officers for doing this.
Okay, thank you for those comments, Councillor Flynn. And with that, is this report approved? Thank you. Arlene, please.
That takes us on to item 4, tenders received by Head of Design and Property, and this is for approval.
Thank you. Councillor Crichton.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Provost. My question is similar to the one that Councillor Duncan asked on item 2. I'm just wondering why the report hasn't given greater detail and assurance the best value has been achieved with this significant tender award.
Please, do you wish to address that again, please?
Yeah, so just to highlight, in terms of this programme of work, Construction Services undertakes our electrical inspection certification review across all our stock, including our communal lighting. And it's through these inspections that we then identify what further works and investment are required across the stock. So it's part very much of a work stream that starts from partnership and then comes through that process.
Is that okay, Councillor Crichton, or do you wish to come in again?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you. So is that report approved? Thank you. And just before we wind up this committee, I'm going to let Councillor Flynn come in again.
Thanks, Convener, and I hope the committee can indulge me here. We have an officer here who's slightly on the way to retirement, and after an outstanding career spanning nearly 4 decades, Tom Stilling, Head of Community Safety and Protection at Dundee City Council, is retiring at the end of December this year, leaving behind an incredible legacy of dedication, professionalism and service. Tom's journey began, I think, sorry to say this, Tom, back in Strathclyde University, where you graduated in 1987 with a degree in environmental health. And over the years, You've built an impressive career, bringing in expertise, leadership to roles in Edinburgh, Falkirk, Renfrewshire, and finally here in Dundee. In every position, Tom has been known not only for his skill and knowledge, but also for his passion for improving the lives of those in the communities, and we recognise that within the city itself. Tom's looking for a well-earned retirement, I'm sure. I believe you're looking to get away with your wife on as many holidays as you can and spend a lot of time with your grandchildren. And I think you've got a new camper van. I don't know if you'll make any comment on that one, but so I think colleagues and friends wish him all the best in his exciting new chapter ahead of him, and his contributions will not be forgotten and his presence will be sorely missed. Congratulations on a remarkable career, Tom, and enjoy your travels going forward, and we wish you all the best, and thanks very much for the effort. I've worked with you over a number of projects and you've been excellent, so thank you very much for your dedication. Thank you.
I'm going to let Bailey McPherson in now, Tom, so you can escape the speech if you wish. I'll let Bailey McPherson come in.
Just to really concur with all the comments that Councillor Flynn made there, and I'll avoid jokes about camper vans as well. The point fundamentally is that Tom has been an extremely helpful and efficient officer. He's also an extremely nice, pleasant man, which is, to his great credit. But I always felt that Tom made every effort to try to help on any inquiry that I or other elected members make. His retirement is well deserved, and I hope he has a very long and happy retirement with his wife and family. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you, Billy McPherson. Billy Keenan.
Yeah, Tom, just to wish you all the best on behalf of the Labour Group. I think other people have said anytime we've made an approach, it's always been responded to really well. I'm probably going to miss that link between council and the police that or the community wardens that you were able to deploy to areas where there was a bit of grief. But I appreciate the efforts you put in. I wish you a long and happy retirement.
Thank you. Would you like to respond, Tom? Not putting you on the spot then.
Yeah, no, thanks, Convener. Thanks for the kind words. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time working here in Dundee over the last 9 years, working with some great people and being part of Team Dundee. It's been a pleasure to do that. So thanks everyone, and thanks for your kind comment.
So with that's the business. Thank you very much.
We'll just move on to City Governance Committee. Over to you, Willie, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Convener. Firstly, are there any declarations of interest?
Councillor Crichton.
Thank you, Convener. I just wish to declare that I'll not take part on the confidential item 11, as my employer is a tenant in the site concerned.
Thank you. Noted. See anyone else? Oh, sorry, Councillor Dawson, please.
Yeah, thanks, Convener. Probably just in relation to the items concerning leisure and culture and for the other members of the board as well.
Yeah, thanks, Billy Dawson. That's noted, and everyone else on L&C. Thank you. We move on, Willie, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Convener. I would now like to indicate the deputation requests have been received in relation to item 2, changes to services provided by Leisure and Culture Dundee. These have been received from Martin Goodfellow on behalf of Broughty Ferry Traders Association, who would like to speak in relation to the Broughty Castle item. Ian Gordon of Keir Park Golf Course would like to speak to that matter. He's club captain. And also Dr. June Gilchrist, who's chair of Dundee Astronomical Society, who would wish to speak in relation to the Mills Observatory matter. Is the committee minded to hear the deputations?
Everyone agree to deputations? Yep, that's in the dissent, so we'll just move on to the deputations. Mr Goodfellow, would you like to go first, please? I'll just take them in the order I have here. You'll have 7 minutes, Martin, and you can just stay at the podium once you're finished in case there are any questions from members. And we'll go from there. Thank you.
Can you hear me all right? Sorry, I don't know that. I'm sure there's a formal way to address everyone, but I'll just stick with good evening. By way of introduction, founded in 1902, the Brodie Ferry Traders Association represent the interests of our members, more than 120 locally owned shops, businesses and social enterprises, with the aim of maintaining and developing the vibrancy of our town centre for the benefit of all. This is far from being a purely commercial concern. We fund and organise Brodie Ferry Gala Week in July and the Christmas Lights and Carnival in November as community events, some of the largest of their kind on the east coast of Scotland. I was interested to note that Visit Scotland statistics for the Scotland Visitor Survey 2023 show that across all categories and place of origin of visitors, castles and forts are the attractions most visited, more than any other tourist attraction, and this most especially for foreign visitors. Of course, we have several castles in Dundee, Duddock, Mains, Claypots, and last man standing, as a possible site to visit, is Broughty Castle, sitting as the most obvious and underused poster boy for the city. Yet incredibly, we're actually sitting here thinking of ways to close it, rather than to utilise it better than the rather underwhelming and unimaginative way that it is presented currently. That being said, last year it still managed to get almost a quarter of the annual number of visitors that McManus Galleries did in 2018, i.e. pre-COVID. This irrational proposal to close the castle is, of course, of huge interest to our members and our local community, and we note that of an enormous 933 respondents to the proposals, 91% believe the closure would have a negative impact on the locality. This just goes to show that sometimes when you ask people a question, they actually give the correct answer. Brodie Ferry Castle is the only repository for a collection that relates to Brodie Ferry's social and cultural history. Let us not be in any doubt that if the doors close, that will disappear forever. There is no other place to display this collection. Those who are charged to care for it and ensure its accessibility to the public understand this, yet here we are with a proposal to close it. However, there's far more importance to the importance of Brodie Castle than just a place to house artefacts. Dundee has pitched itself as a place to visit, with a number of historical and cultural attractions to act as a draw to encourage visitors. But as yet, it has failed to convert the number of visits into overnight stays, which are so much more important to the economy than day trippers. To do this, it needs to use the number and breadth of its attractions to tip it over into that category. Overnight stays in the city mean more money spent, and as a result, of course, a strengthened local economy. These people then leave with a smile on their face and spread the word. Repeat ad infinitum. Therefore, it is vital that we make the very most of the sum of our assets in securing Dundee as a key attraction to visitors in what is a very competitive tourism market. Our small but vital part of this jigsaw puzzle in Brodie Ferry is Broughty Castle. Brodie Ferry, with its brand new waterfront, provides a completely different but complementary experience for visitors from that provided by the attractions in the city centre. Scottish Government investment in our waterfront to the tune of £18.5 million has been passed to us as a golden opportunity in the state-of-the-art walk and cycleway that serves to connect Dundee, Brodie Ferry and Monteith in a way that they have never been before. Our iconic castle sits proudly at the very centre of this, with the tantalising possibility of a bright future. And yet, if we follow the proposals put forward to the committee, we will pass on this opportunity. How does this look for potential investors in the city when they see that the foresight and imagination provided by previous investors have been matched by a narrow introspective approach locally that betrays a lack of understanding that the value of that investment is as the touch paper lit for better things, not an end in itself. The waterfront development is therefore absolutely not the end in itself, but an opportunity. An opportunity for our city to do some amazing things, to enhance our offering as a tourist destination, bring people in, get them to spend money, create jobs and pay taxes. There are no other local solutions that I know of that might allow us to address the underlying problems behind our current economic circumstances. We can and must do better. We believe that if Dundee City Council are serious about safeguarding and encouraging commerce, then we have to have joined up thinking, which is fabulous at one end of the scale, e.g. the V&A and the Eden Project, yet in other matters, such as this proposal, betrays a staggering lack of vision as to how to use our cultural heritage to encourage visitors. That will only serve to discourage visitors to our city and push them to go elsewhere. The right blend of good thinking, economic realism and a heads-together approach from Dundee City Council, Historic Environment Scotland, local groups such as the Brodie Ferry Traders Association, aided perhaps by a bit of a push from Holyrood, must surely allow us to work out a way to really make Brodie Castle a visitor attraction that you wouldn't want to miss, utilising outbuildings, the grounds and the tower together. We ask that the committee turn down this proposal and provide sufficient time and space for other avenues to be fully explored before any consideration is made of condemning the castle to closure from which there will be no return. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin, and thanks, Nick. If you just wait there a second, I'll just see if there's any questions for you. Councillor Kirdell, you're the first one, please.
It's a very straightforward question, really, Mr. Goodall, because you have talked through it there in your deputation. You will think that with the 40,000 footfall at that castle, which could be more, and with the right management, that castle should be, at the very heart of tourism in the ferry and should, enhance the offering.
Absolutely. 40,000, I mean, for a small visitor attraction like that, as it is at present, is really pretty impressive. But, we know it could be more. And now that you've got the spotlight on it, and hopefully the floodlights on it in the next few months, it really is something, we're all part of the same city. And this should very much be part of the overall offering, and it can be so much more than what it is. It just needs action.
Thank you.
Thank you, and my mistake, and my apologies for the light you just jumped on my screen here. I'll come to Councillor Shears first, please.
Thank you, Convener. We'll forgive you this time. Thanks for coming along today and speaking to us. Certainly, one of the jewels in Brodie Ferry's crown is the high street that's absolutely rammed with independent traders, cafe retailers. And I know you represent a good few of them. I was just wondering if you could let us know what they feel like the impact would be with the castle closing and a potential drop in tourism numbers to the people you represent.
Well, it's I have to say this is a real unifying issue amongst our members, in that everybody sees direct link between the tourist offering of Brodie Ferry and the commercial situation. There's really a direct line, like I say, 40,000 visitors to the castle. That's going to have a significant impact on the high street should these people be removed and the castle be removed as a potential destination.
Councillor Duncan, please.
Thanks, Convener. And good evening, Mr. Goodfellow. You and I have had several conversations before, and so I think we're probably rather on the same page in terms of what we'd like to see happen regarding this quite principal asset in Brodie Ferry, certainly. And I just wondered if, like me, you're somewhat not merely aghast, but actually astonished that we should actually be looking at a committee either downgrading or possibly closing such an asset. That's my first point. And secondly, should we not in fact be actually pulling together to actually exploit such an obvious asset?
Absolutely. We've gone to great lengths to, and rightly so, to bring the discovery here many years ago, and I remember it well. But we've got some of our own assets. I mean, I would also single out clay pots. You know, the best example of a tower house in Scotland, shut now for years. These places, we need to use them. You know, they've got a huge potential for tourist attractions. Brodie Castle being the most obvious because of its location and next to the beach, etc. I am astonished, but I do also believe that while this has been proposed, I do believe that many people in the chamber probably think the same as I do on that.
That's your question, Craig.
Yes, thanks, Convener. Thank you.
Daily Scott, please.
Mr. Goodfellow, I understand that Leisure and Culture Dundee didn't carry out an evaluation of the economic benefits the castle brings to the area before bringing this report to committee. Can you let me know if the traders have ever commissioned their own report and give us an indication of how much benefit is brought to the ferry as a result of visitors to the castle, and whether you think before we make a decision tonight we really should have that information in front of us?
Absolutely, we should do. We don't have that information. But clearly, if visitors' numbers are anything to go by, then you really shouldn't be making decisions like that without a full understanding of the impact it's going to have.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any further questions. Thanks very much, your deputation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. I have up next Ian Gordon, please. Okay, Mr. Gordon, you have 7 minutes. When you start, if you can just wait at the podium again, see if there's any questions for you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ian Gordon. I'm the captain of Cape Park Golf Club for the last 4 years. I've been a member of the golf club for 33 years and played golf at Cape Park for over 50 years. A little bit of history about Cape Park. It's 101 years old this year, and our club is 98 years old. And it's been quite a body blow that we've had the last couple of years trying the closure. Kids learning golf nowadays have nowhere to go. Dundee is the 4th largest city in Scotland and is going to be left without a municipal golf course. We find that absolutely disgraceful. Cairdy, as well known to maybe yourselves, is surrounded by the schemes in the city with very high deprivation. And this is not good for the health and well-being of the local community. Older members we have in the club, 70, 80-year-old, is going to have an impact on them because they're going to be left without any activity during the week. Our club has been used by many people for functions over the years, charities and fundraisers, which brings a substantial amount of money into the club. And the function suite we also use for all other types of get-togethers, for example, funerals and that. If it closes, it will have a big detrimental effect on the community, and also jobs will be lost within the process in the club, i.e. bar staff, cleaning and committee. In 2019, at a policy and resource meeting when they closed Camperdown Golf Course, the savings of £200,000 was meant to be spent on Cape Park, a new driving range, reinstatement of an annual course for the learning of youth and women's golf, and also improvements to car parks and surrounding areas. But not one penny was spent, and we wonder where that money went. Surely, within the council, money could be saved from other departments to keep the course open. We are looking for a decision tonight to be deferred in the hope that money coming in from the Scottish Government this week could help save the course, and also members are willing to put their fees up, but not to the stand at 250,000% at the LECD. As a club, we have had no help from the council to maintain our building, which is 150 years old, and it's cost us considerable money to keep it open due to water damage and etc. Recently, I've seen a video that LECD has recently going to be rebranded as Active Dundee. Well, I can assure you there's no many activities left in Dundee because of the close of the golf course. Over the last 12 years, they've closed tennis courts, bowling greens, and they are threatening other sports facilities. There'll be nothing left for people in Dundee. Just a couple of items that was on the report. Item 6/19 was the cost of machinery to the greenkeeping staff of a company called ID Verdi. They say that it costs £100,000 a year for the next 3 years. And we cannot see how that is. They need machinery, but there's no way that kind of money should be spent on it. Item 6/23, they talked about redevelopment of the site. Now, that course was a gift to the public of Dundee over 100 years ago, and to me, they should not be allowed to put any redevelopment on the site. Just finish off, some of the quotes from LCD. The first meeting we had, we asked for, and maybe Judy could answer this, we asked for accounts over the last 3 years of Golf Dundee because we tried to get them online and it's the only place we couldn't get them. We think that LEC has failed golf. Non-promotion, which it could be bringing it into schools, learning. We have had hundreds of members since they've been in the club that we have brought through, and now they come back and they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s now, and they never pass us or come back to their roots. I'd just like to finish off by saying to all elected members tonight that your decision could have a major effect in the next elections, as the people you heard tonight by closing Care Park Golf Club are the people who had voted you in. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ian. We've just got a number of questions for you. If you can just stay there for a second, please. Councillor Black, please.
Hello. Could you give a wee bit more information about that £200,000 that you said the council promised to spend on the Caird Park golf course? Being a new councillor, having been off the council at that time, I don't have much detail, and I would quite like to ask officers a bit more about it. So if you could just give me a bit more detail about what we promised.
Is that the one from 2019 from the Policy Resource Committee?
Money that wasn't spent on Caird?
It wasn't spent, yeah. Well, it was Councillor Alexander at the time at that meeting stated that that was the way forward. And in the report it said that they want to go ahead with the driving range immediately because that was one of the main things. And now we've lost out on that. One of the private courses in Dundee has just recently built one and it's making a fortune. So I think LECD sort of failed on that as well.
Thank you for that. I think it's probably a question for Officer Jimmy, to be honest. Okay. Councillor McKerven, please.
Thanks, Convener, and thanks, Ian, for your deputation. Various individuals throughout the city have contacted me with their concerns of the proposed closure of the golf club, and the common theme throughout that was the issues of social isolation for people, elderly people that are getting out and being active once retired, the poverty angle, people who can't afford to go to private clubs. They've got a municipal golf club. We've already seen one closure, and this is the only one left. So it's important to people who can't afford to play golf elsewhere. The youth, you touched on the youth, and what I'm looking for you to this evening is if you could elaborate on these points. And in addition to that, not just the youth, but the amount total female golfers within the club, and I believe they've got their own section. So I would just like to maybe drill down on what impact it would have for people.
I think on the youth, we brought through junior golfers in our club for longer than they've been there. And you are talking hundreds and hundreds of kids, and it gives them something to look forward to, especially in the surrounding areas like some of the schemes where the deputation is. And all you see is kids now on laptops and phones. You've got to get them out and get them active. And that's what we thought the council has failed us on. We have had meetings with them on umpteen occasions and put things forward, and we've not had very much coming back from them. On the elderly members, it would say at least 70-75% of our membership in the club are over the age of 60. Quite a few of them are retired, and they look forward to playing 2-3 games a week, come in, a couple of drinks. We've got one member at 93 that comes every Wednesday in a taxi, 2 pints and a taxi home. Boys like that is going to suffer because they'll have no place to go. I hope that answers your question, Councillor.
Thanks, Ian. Just maybe a wee bit more on your female
golf
section, that'd be good.
The female golf club section has now folded because of the threats of the closure. We had offered the female golf facilities on umpteen occasions, but they like to keep themselves separate and they play separate days from the men, which is fair enough. We know what problem we are. We do let them use our function suite and that for AGMs and things like that. But I just recently heard from the captain of the ladies section that they've disbanded last week. That AGM they had last week in our club was their last. Now they're going elsewhere, private clubs and that, which our members cannot afford. And some of the figures that LECD or Active Dundee have come up are on a par with the dearest golf course and club in Dundee. We could not afford that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shears, please.
Thanks very much, and thanks for coming along. A lot of what I was going to ask was just covered by Councillor McKerven and yourself there. I've never played golf myself. My only interaction with the KRD is walking my dog down there a long time ago. So I was wondering if you could sort of give me an overview in what benefits it has to physical and mental health, especially for the older people there.
Yeah, well, the mental health issue is you're out in the air, walking, keeping active. A lot of dog walkers on the course, and we don't mind that. But the problem we've had recently is a lot of vandalism through stupid bikers, and we've put suggestions trying to improve security, etc. But it just fell on deaf ears.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, Councillor Coleman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gavina. I, like probably everybody else in the chamber, have received a lot of emails in respect of the proposed closure of the golf club and those who will be feeling isolated if it went through. However, Dundee is surrounded by some of the finest courses in the world, and tourism booms in nearby towns because of that. So would you agree with me that there's an obvious market here to exploit for Carepack Golf Course and indeed the club to attract those that are already coming near to Dundee already, bring them into Dundee and play here? To me, this seems like an obvious income stream for the course and the club.
Oh, you're right on your point about Dundee being in what they call as Carnoustie country, because within a 20-mile radius, you've got maybe 7 or 8 really good courses there. The last municipal course is in Dundee, and where do other people go after that? You have to go out of town, travel, Fife, Ayleth, up that way, and it's just not on. I think it's been a bit of a public relations disaster from LECD over the last few years because of the points we've put to them, and we've got very, very little answers from them.
Thank you for that. Councillor Finnegan, please. Thanks very much for that. That's all the questions, Ian. Thank you very much for that, and thanks for your dedication. Sorry. Sorry. Bill Keenan, please. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Ian, thanks for coming along and speaking to us tonight about the effects that it would have should we close the golf course. I read somewhere there was somewhere in the region of 37,000 rounds of golf played, and no golfer myself. Could you give me an indication, if you're a reasonable golfer, how many miles you'd walk in a round of golf? Really, if you were bad, there would be a lot more.
Oh, I think on a round of golf, you'd be maybe talking about 3 to 4 miles. I usually carry my mobile phone because for people contact us. and I do 10,000 steps quite easy in every round I play, and I play 3 games a week. And as I say, on the mental health and well-being, etc., the council always promote this, but they're going to be digging a big hole at the Shopcare Park golf course.
Do you think that there would be a downturn in people taking that level of exercise if it wasn't for going out there, the social side, and knocking a ball, a bit of competition with their colleagues?
Yeah, there's already been a downturn when they tried last year, they mentioned last year about closure to the golf course. LACD lost 200 members within a matter of months. And that shows you the effect. People were threatened that the course was short, so they bailed out and went to other courses. But as I say, there's nothing left in Dundee after this closure if it goes ahead. So that's why we're asking for a deferral tonight to negotiate more, willing to put their prices up, but no to the extraordinary things that they're wanting, and just maybe more dialogue in. Yeah, that's probably what we're thinking of.
Ian, thanks for that.
Billy Scott, please.
Thanks. In the integrated assessment report, in mitigation, it says it's feasible that many users could access other nearby courses not run by Leisure and Culture Dundee, although there'll be a cost implication for that. You've said in your deputation tonight that it's not really affordable for people to go elsewhere. I just wondered if you could give us an indication of the cost difference, please, between being a member at Caird Park, playing around at Caird Park, in comparison to another course that you might use.
At the moment, Caird Park, it costs you £330 for a year's membership. To go to a private club, a decent club, you'd be talking anything between 500, 600, 700, 800. Now, the figure LAC or Active Dundee have come up with, they're wanting to put the price of your membership by 250%, and that's absolutely shocking. I don't think probably anybody in this room would be able to go and pay 250% on any end. You know what I mean? It's shocking.
That's your question there? Yeah, thanks very much. I think that's you this time, Ian. Apologies for that. Thanks very much.
Right, thank you.
For your deputation. We have one more deputation from Dr. June Gilchrist, the chair of Dundee Astronomical Society. Again, you have 7 minutes and you just stay at the podium afterwards if there's any questions. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm June Gilchrist, and I'm currently chair of the Dundee Astronomical Society. Next year, 2025, is the 90th anniversary of the Mills Observatory in Dundee. 2026 is the 70th anniversary of our Astronomy Society. So we have had a long and a close association with the Mills, being involved in many events, as well as regularly assisting with the public viewing of the night sky. We are very familiar with how this has gone in the past. However, in the past 2 months or so, there has been a seismic change in the number of people who have come along to these events. Leisure and Culture Dundee advertised the Mills and also informed the public of what they could see on that night in the sky. Just come up to the Mills and we will help you. And come up they did, quite literally in their hundreds. About 370 people came in the 3 hours of the evening. The atmosphere, though very busy at these events, was of fun. Everyone said how much they were enjoying themselves. It was a great night and said they would be back. But several people said to me, born in Dundee, never knew this existed. It's terrific. We'll definitely be back. There is absolutely no doubt about the value of this facility to the Dundee public. Just by informing them about what there was to see in the sky, they responded in huge number and showed great interest once they were there. This happened not just the once, But each time the information was provided, similar numbers made their way up Balgie Hill. And as the winter season moves along, there is no shortage of changing objects in the sky for us to tell visitors about. It is well recognised that STEM subjects are becoming increasingly important for our future. The growth of this country will come hugely from technology, green technology, AI, space industry, so many more. It's why the government and education are pushing for children to take up these subjects. They recognise the need for the next generation to work in these areas. Astronomy now encompasses so many subjects: geology, biology, photography, computing science, engineering, to only name a few. You've probably been given information about the many people who have credited starting their careers from visits to the mills as youngsters, some of those being international careers of some note. Being unique, the observatory is well known in the astronomical world. Patrick Moore came here to use the Cook telescope to continue his lunar work. Dave Scott, commander of Apollo 15, the 7th man to walk on the moon, and only one of 12 people ever to have done so. He came here to visit the mills. The mills is a unique facility. John Mills wanted an elegant building. It had to be fully equipped as an observatory where the public could come, in his words, to see and enjoy the wonders of God's heavens. It is still, to this day, the only one in the country, free for the public, and we have it here in Dundee. Actually, regardless of where you live, if you want this experience, you need to come to Dundee. The uniqueness of this iconic Art Deco building gives it great potential for events to be held there. There is a certain mystery in an observatory which is not lost on the visitors. Few will have visited anything like it before. The educational potential is also vast. It opens doors for children, a door they may never have known was there for them. Sometimes just happening upon that opportunity changes everything for a child. Perhaps that school trip to the mills could be the one. I have no doubt that the current team here at Leisure and Culture can and would bring this potential into reality, and the Dundee Astronomical Society will help anyhow we can. Public viewing, tours, talks, training lectures, whatever we can provide. It would never have been easy to see a nationally unique science facility of this calibre close. But to see it so close to realising its potential, and now to have the demonstration of the huge effect of what has really been a fairly minimal input so far, just advertising, just telling people, it shows that the public appetite is there for the mills to go on from strength to strength. Consequently, the potential of its loss has been very hard. I fervently hope that the Mills Observatory here in Dundee will be there for the Dundee public and for many others for a long time, and the Dundee Astronomical Society will always be there to help it along. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and again, thank you for keeping to good time as per the previous deputations. I see Billy McPherson, you have a question?
Yeah, I do, Convener, thank you. Dr. Gilchrist, that was an extremely useful contribution, and I'm very grateful to you for making that tonight. The Mills Observatory is in the centre of my ward and is very much in the heart of the local community and the hearts of the local residents who use Balgie Hill and Park very regularly and visit the Mills Observatory. I've been to many, many events over the years, probably not quite as many as yourself, but nonetheless, I'm very, very grateful for your contribution tonight. You mentioned, and I think quite rightly, about the fact that there's a uniqueness about the Mills Observatory, in the sense that it is the only free-to-use public observatory in the United Kingdom. And I'm just really wondering if you feel there is more that Leisure and Culture Dundee and could be doing in relation to promoting its existence. And if there is anything that Dundee Astronomical Society could be doing to assist Leisure and Culture Dundee to make more, frankly, in a promotional sense of the events that happen at Mills Observatory and, in fact, its existence across the UK, so that more people know of the fact that it is in Dundee and it is well worth a visit.
I think there absolutely is. I mean, before the advert, it was just an advert in the Courier. We were quite excited if 100 people, or over 100 sometimes, might have turned up. But this is a phenomenal increase in what has clearly been an interest that's there and has just been stimulated. So yes, I think there's a lot that could be done. There is potential for, the Mills needs money to come in. It needs to become a viable building in its own right, I feel. And I think that can be achieved. We don't have to charge the public, but because of the nature of the building, it has huge potential for event hire. There's a huge rush just now to have out-of-office meetings. You can't have one in the office. You have to go someplace else. And to do that, you can have, it's often departments, not hundreds of folk. And the Mills can accommodate that. It can have tours of the telescopes and the very iconic papier-mâché dome that it has there, which in 20 minutes is an attraction to have people hire its facilities. There's lots of things that can be done on that line. It is free to the public, and speakers before have made the point it is very pertinent that it is extremely expensive to find an indoor facility these days. Most people can't afford to take the kids, but they can come to the Mills. And with the help of Leisure and Culture and the vision of what can be enhanced at the observatory, because it also has had no much input over several years, but that has changed. And the loss of the city astronomer, whose post was stopped some years back, that made a big difference as well for training staff, for helping with parties of kids and or anybody that came along. There were loads of them. There was somebody, coach parties arrived every night at that point. That with the help of the society, I think we can get that re-established and have more input into the actual building. For example, there was disability ramps put outside, but if you're disabled, you can only get to the ground floor. Observatories don't let you upstairs. None of them do. It's very difficult. And one of the things that we thought we could do, though, is using Wi-Fi cameras, which don't have leads in the dark, but it would allow us to put cameras onto telescopes up in the dome for live viewing on the ground floor, so that disabled children can see live views of the sky like the other kids do. And so we could get parties of disability, which would be just lovely. There's a vast amount that can be done to enhance the use of the building and its educational ability for the kids and the adults, actually, in Dundee.
Thank you for that. Answer your question, Bill McPherson?
Very much so. A very full response, and I'm very grateful to Dr. Gilchrist for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no further questions, so thank you very much for that deputation.
Thank you now.
Gilchrist, thank you. We'll just move on to the report. The report updates selected members on the results of the consultations on the proposals to change the services provided by Leisure and Culture Dundee to the three venues, Mills Observatory, Broughty Ferry Castle Museum and Caird Park Golf Course, and makes recommendations of changes to be implemented. Each of the three facilities was the subject of a separate consultation to consider potential implications, including equality-related matters. The committee is asked to approve the recommendations and to continue support for the Mills Observatory and agree to cease to operate Broughty Ferry Castle and from the 31st of October and cease to operate Caird Park from by the 30th of April 2025. We have some questions for officers, so I'll bring in Councillor Black first, please.
This question is with regard to the Caird Park golf course. The deputation said, I think, that £200,000 had been promised of investment into the Caird Park golf course after Camperdown course was shut. So I'd like to find out if that's factually correct, and if it is, would officers comment on whether that 200,000 might have actually made the Caird Park golf course more popular and enabled us to avoid closing it tonight.
Judy, would you like to comment on that one, please?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Black. Yes, there was funding allocated towards the further development of the golf course, and plans for the driving range were very far on. There were some challenges given where it would need to be sited and a number of environmental concerns that needed to be addressed. Unfortunately, the timing of it meant that we did go straight into COVID at a point where we would have been further on, and it was not picked up after COVID.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lynn, please.
Yeah, I'm just, why am I getting feedback here? I don't think my mic's off. Am I getting feedback, or am I just being paranoid? I think the mic's off on the computer. Sorry, just let me check. Yeah, the mic's off. I'll just carry on. Sorry. I'm just wondering why. Let me get this back. Sorry. Yeah, it says that the in order to reduce the deficit position, fees and membership would have to increase by at least 250% to at least 825. This is at 6.19 in the report. Further down, it says though that for 4 local private clubs, the price ranges from 395 to 850, with the average being 575. So, were we to increase to at least 825 a year, it would be the most expensive. I'm just wondering, what is it about Caird Park which makes it so expensive to maintain compared to these 4 private clubs that are mentioned, where the average is 575.
Thanks, Councillor Lynn, for the question. The way that Caird Park operates is that we do employ a separate contractor to do the greenkeeping. We have some issues in terms of how challenging it is to maintain the course, given that it's not as easy to put boundaries in place to stop access out with normal opening hours. So there have been a number of challenges within that. The figure that we're looking at is what the price of members would need to go up to cover the cost of operating the full course. So it's not taking account of pay-to-play members. It's based on the number of members that we have. And as the members have dropped, as Mr. Gordon said earlier on, by around 200, that represents a big cut in the amount of money that we have for operations.
That answers your question, Ken. Councillor McHugh, please.
Thank you. My question relates to the integrated impact assessment attached to this report. And I'm hoping elected members have taken the time to read through this important document carefully. The general conclusion is that changes to these 3 services have positive impacts for age and disability. I beg to differ. These positive impacts appear to be based mainly on the proposal to continue funding for Mills Observatory. For Mills Observatory to produce a positive impact, it would need to be reopened following closure. Continuing the funding means no change to the service. So the correct assessment in terms of Mills Observatory is no impact because no change in service is proposed. Within the category for age, closure of Broughty Castle and Caird Park is assessed as positive. If you read the detail in the assessment and in the report of the consultation responses, you will see that impacts are in fact overwhelmingly negative, as has already been pointed out by the deputations. The same applies with the disability category. Mitigations listed under both of these categories for Broughty Castle and Caird Park are either irrelevant, since they are out with the control of the council, or have increased cost implications for people in these vulnerable categories, not mitigations in any realistic sense. But one of the most interesting comments within the assessment comes at the end of the section on age, the third paragraph on page 38 of our bundle. Here it claims that the overall impact of these proposals results in a net positive. I'm agog at this conclusion. Impacts cannot be traded off against each other. That goes against everything that the public sector equality duty was set up to address. A positive impact is a positive impact. A negative impact is a negative impact and can only be mitigated against, not cancelled out by a positive impact. These are not interchangeable. The findings of the assessment are clearly flawed, and I would suggest that officers need to reconsider. I support Mr. Gordon's call for a deferral to allow this reconsideration, and I would appreciate officers' comments.
Thank you for the question. Andrea, can we bring you on this one, please?
So when officers have considered everything in relation, particularly age, what they've been looking at is also mitigation. So what we're saying is around age that people can still use the park. So the park will be available for outdoor activities, but not for golf. So we feel that there would be positives there. We have set out that there are negatives because of the particular issue around the golf not being available. And for age, whilst for younger people, the venues are possibly okay. For older people, both Mills and Broughty Ferry Castle presents challenges. So for older people, they probably weren't positive for use anyway. And then for disability, both Mills and Broughty Ferry Castle are not disability friendly, but Caird Park remains positive for disability because people can still access it for activities other than in golf. So I think a range of officers have looked at the whole of the impact assessment, and it wasn't just done by one particular person, so we did try to make sure that it was done as wide as possible, and we feel that it is given as fair an outlook as possible on the overall impacts of both age and for disability.
Thank you for that. To answer your question, Dorothy?
Not exactly. I mean, I would still like the situation of a net positive assessment to be addressed. Negative and positive impacts aren't interchangeable, and that appears to be what's been done here.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think the officer will take that comment on board. Moving forward, Councillor Hunter, please.
Thank you, Convener. I actually have three questions based on the comments from the deputation, Mr. Gordon, about Caird Park. So the first one is he mentions in 6.19 machinery, which will cost 300,000 over 3 years, and he disputes that figure. Could you explain how we've got to 300,000 for the machinery and the cost for that? The second question is on 6.23 when we talk about alternative options. What alternative options are we talking about, and have we had any discussions with MD about taking over the golf course to run it for us? And my final question is that Mr. Gordon feels that discussions between the club and officers have not progressed well. He feels, in fact, they haven't progressed at all. From LNCD's point of view, what has the discussions been with the club, and what have they taken forward from those discussions?
Yeah, I think on the first one, I'll bring in Tony to maybe make some comment with regards to the machinery.
Thanks, Councillor Hunter. Yeah, the prices and the costs that are quoted are accurate in terms of that's how much it costs to run that type of facility. It certainly changed with the cost that we have in running the grounds maintenance facilities across the city. Thanks.
And on the options, Judy, you got to come in on this one in the first instance, and whether it's maybe be directed to planning just for comment.
In terms of the options for taking over.
Yeah, 6.23.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Hunter. That's something that LACD have worked very closely with colleagues in city development. So I'm aware that colleagues have looked very closely at options for alternative providers to take over. My understanding is that there's none on the table at the moment that have looked at it as an attractive proposition.
Thanks for that. I think I'm bringing the head of planning, he's in the room. If you maybe go to a mic, Gregor, and just maybe refer back to 6.23 where it gives uses of development site and consultation with yourself. What that site could actually be used for, just to sort of members know information.
Thank you, Convener. The site, Care Park, is allocated within the local development plan as public open space, and it's protected as such. So any use that may be proposed within the park would need to accord with the policy to be in accordance with the development plan. But there are some uses that could be proposed that would still be acceptable within an area that is designated as open space.
Thank you for that. And the general comments, I think, with regards to the dialogue between officers and the club themselves in regards to the golf course and the golf club. Judy, you want to come now, please?
Thank you for the question, Convener and Councillor Hunter. We have fostered very positive relationships with Ian Gordon. We're very conscious of the efforts that he does and his colleagues do in terms of keeping golf alive in the city. This is just a financial challenge that we haven't been able to address, but we do recognise that the golfers that come under the golf club have a lot of passion for what they do, and I'm very sorry to hear that Mr. Gordon doesn't feel that we've responded as appropriately as he would have liked.
Thank you for that. I've got the 3 questions in this, so Councillor Shears, please.
Thanks very much. My question's on 6.11 regarding the Orca collection. There's mention of a cost of, if the castle is closed, that a one-off removal and preparation cost would be £53,000. Just wondering if we can get a breakdown of how we estimate that level of cost. And secondly, if the castle is shut, where would the Orca collection be stored, and what would the cost be in terms of storage? And I presume with a collection like that, we'd also want to keep it in good shape. So any additional costs that would be coming forward, should it be removed from the castle?
I'll bring you in, Judy, from that one, please.
Yes, thanks very much for the question, Councillor Shears. I don't have to hand how that cost is broken down. What I can say is that the priority for Leisure and Culture Dundee is to protect the collection. So we would be looking to store that primarily in the locations that we already have storage facilities. So we have Barrack Street and within the McManus building. The cost challenge comes mainly in terms of we would need technical support in removing the items, and obviously a specialist removal firm to help with that. It's quite a big collection, and the nature of the building means it wouldn't be necessarily straightforward. If we don't have sufficient storage space within our existing buildings, there is the potential that we would need to look at paying for additional storage facilities.
Thank you for that. That's your question.
Just have a quick follow-up. So before this report went into place and we were asked to look at it, would we not have an overview of how much storage that we currently have available and whether we could fit the collection in there? I think that would be something that should have been in the report.
Yes, and I think the challenge is that it would potentially require relocating some of what's already stored to make room for this. So within, for example, McManus, the actual facility that we have would not be sufficient for the full storage of what the collection is at the moment.
Thank you for that. So, okay, Councillor Coleman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Convener. So, like many others in Dundee, I learned to play golf at Kerr Park, although those who have played with me would contest the notion that I've ever learned to play. So this proposal really does frankly break my heart, and especially after the closure of Camperdown Golf Course already. Can I please ask officers what possible benefit they think there is to just letting the place grow, as suggested by option 2 at 6.21? It would seem to me that the failed Camperdown experiment of letting the place grow into a jungle has failed, with promised private investment for several years failing to materialise. In addition, whilst I entirely accept that golfers who travel nearby to play actually come to play the world's most famous courses, can I also ask officers what marketing they do to attract golfers who are already nearby to come and stay and play in Dundee? Because to my mind, there's an obvious market here that golfers nearby, if they're not coming to Dundee to stay and play, it is a failure of marketing of the city and its offering. It would not be impossible to think up some sort of special deal for golf tourists. If you have a hotel booking in Dundee, you could play at Kerr Park at a special rate, or the launch of a Dundee Pass that could be purchased to include around at Kerr Park. All these things would offset the loss that we're running it. And indeed, can I make a final point? Now, this, there's talk of a hefty increase in membership fees. Subsidy is not an unfamiliar concept to things that are run by the local government and their respective organisations. It doesn't need to run at a complete balanced budget. There's a lot of things we do run at a subsidy, and this could as well. Also, I do accept probably some fees to go up. It doesn't need to go up by 250%, as been suggested.
Thank you for that. And you got a few questions in there. So firstly, I'll go to Tony first with regards to what's going to be left if need be.
Thanks very much, Convener. Thanks, Councillor Coleman, for the question. The report's quite explicit in explaining that the option 2 at 6.21 is the preferred option being put forward by officers, and that there will be sufficient provision for parkland green space maintenance to be undertaken. This will actually have the benefits of a higher level of naturalised grass, which is going to be excellent in supporting biodiversity development. This also ties into the Council's wider aspirations in terms of our environmental objectives, as defined within the local biodiversity plan. And it's part of the wider mix in terms of valuable green space to support our wider nature network. It will, as I said, increase biodiversity, but also habitat development, and also the opportunity in the future for a climate resilient woodland development area to be to further enhance this resource, obviously dependent on future nature restoration funding becoming available. Convener.
Thank you for that. I think, Judy, can you come in on the question from Daniel with regards to the communication for tourism, etc., and the options that are being looked into with regards to any possibility of passes, etc.?
I think there's always more that can be done in terms of marketing any of our services and venues. So I do agree that there's more that we could have potentially done to get people into the city. The problem is that from a tourist offer, there are a lot of courses, as was mentioned earlier, within reasonable travelling distance of the city. So potentially it is more of a local community offer rather than the wider tourist market that we'd be looking at.
Thank you very much for that. I think that's your questions, Daniel. Yep.
Yes, well, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Finnegan, please.
I don't know where to start really, but I'll start here. You had 220,000 for the driving range that got put on hold due to COVID. So where is that money now, or has it been used for something else? Also, I feel as though it's a wee bit short-sighted if we're keeping some places in open space that'll still need maintained by greenkeepers and park operators. So there's still going to be a cost. So I would like to ask the officers what engagement is there. I remember years ago I worked for sports development back then, and we had a golf development officer. And we've also got like active schools. So what has been going on within all these other services to kind of get golf to be taken up as a sport, or at least trialled by young people in Dundee? Because there's nothing like fresh air and exercise to improve mental health and physical health. And as well as, okay, a lot of the people in that survey are men and they're retired. However, I think having other private golf clubs is pricing out the people of Dundee. Golf is a lucrative sport, and it's obviously an elite sport as well. So we wouldn't be saying that if it was like football, or even just now, karate is really big in Dundee, and we would like to see some really good golfers come from Dundee, and I think Dundee Public should have Caird Park Golf Club. So yeah, it's just a wee bit short-sighted. I mean, it's also offering opportunities for people to train as greenkeepers and sports coaches as well as golfers. So yeah, that's all I've got to say.
Thanks for that. You have another number of questions in there. I'll bring Greg in the first instance with regards to your question of the funding, and go from there.
Yeah, thanks, Convener, and thanks, Councillor Finnegan. Just for clarity, report number 217-2019 that was considered by the Policy and Resources Committee on the 19th of August 2019 did not ring-fence or identify £200,000 money for Caird Park. It was to note the proposals from Leisure and Culture Dundee to reduce their deficit on golf, and what it did do was look to develop a driving range at Caird Park and look at how this could be explored. The Director of Leisure and Culture Dundee has provided a narrative as to why that wasn't taken forward, but there was no money set aside within that report following the closure of Camperdown that still exists. It was to reduce the deficit that LECD reported, and that was included in the committee report.
Thanks for that. And I'll go over to you, Judy, with regards to the interaction with regards to children and active sports in many ways, including golf.
Thank you for the question. The Leisure and Culture Dundee as a whole has a really active involvement in promoting sport to children within our city. In the past, we did have a golf development officer who did a power of work, again working with the golf club, and we had free clubs for use by young people who turned up at the course, so they didn't have to come with the equipment. That offer is still there, but unfortunately that post went, so we have not been as heavily involved in promoting golf as a sport to young people in the city in recent times.
Thank you for that, Judy. That's a nice question. Can I bring in Bailey Keenan, please?
In response to Councillor McHugh's question about the impact assessment and the impact that it would have on people with potential disability, that was said that people would be able to walk in the park. And I'm looking at the work that's going on with maintaining the park, and we'd like to sort of get a feel for what naturalised grass is like, because if it's like anything at Camperdown Park, then I would find that very difficult as an able-bodied person to be walking across and wonder how anybody with a disability would be able to manage that. I mean, the stuff's about a foot long. It's whole areas of a park just left a wasteland, as people would see it. So, what we're looking to do, we're still looking to take a huge amount of this park away that will not be accessible to the public.
I think I'll bring in Andy on the assessment again, first and foremost, and then Tony, can you come in on the actual, again, what the park would be like following any possible closure?
So just on the assessment in relation to disability, we were saying that there would still be access for people to walk and take physical activity within the park. So the park is maintained in different ways, and obviously Mr. Boyle will explain the maintenance in a bit more detail.
Okay, thank you, Bailey Keenan. In terms of the specific maintenance that's going to go on in the park, it will be very similar to what we did when we took over Camperdown, what was formerly Camperdown Golf Course. Specifically in relation to Caird Park, we will have a number of different maintenance arrangements. This will include tractor-mounted trailed equipment, which will undertake flail mowing. We will have raid-on mowing, which will do more general grass areas, and we will also have a range of litter picking and other duties. There will be at least 30 hectares within Caird Park, what was or what will be, if the committee is minded to support the report, the golf course, and there will be adequate facilities across the park to walk on the former golf course. Thanks.
Ms. Kevin?
I would still say that it would be difficult to walk in a fair old skate of that park once it's naturalised grass, if it's anything like Camberdown.
Okay, take on board your comments. Bill McPherson, please.
Thanks indeed, convener. I just want to go back to the question that Councillor Shears asked in relation to the potential removal of the orchid collection should the Broughty Castle Museum be closed as a result of this report tonight. Mrs. Dobby indicated that she didn't have costs to hand for such a removal and thereafter the storage of it. But she did indicate there would be potentially and probably definitely, I would suspect, the need for specialists to be hired to do that work. It occurs to me that given that the report in the recommendation it indicates the saving of closing this museum in 25-26, the revenue saving is only £13,000. I'm just really wondering if Mrs. Dobby can at the very least give an indication of the likely cost of both the specialist removal, were it to be proved necessary if the museum were closing, and the storage, because I think that has quite a significant bearing on whether or not there is actually any saving to be made at all. So I was just really wondering if Mrs. Dobby could come back to us on the actual or estimated cost of that should it come to pass.
Thanks, but I don't think I put you on the spot here, Judy, for a price, but maybe some indicative cost, maybe that's better, really.
Thank you for the question, Bailey McPherson. To take it from your last point first, the costs for removal and decanting of the collection would be a one-off cost. And I have got the figures, the indicative costs for the specialist support for a 6 to 8 week process would be 25,000 to 33,000 to get the technical staff in and our own staff supporting that process, plus hire of the van and the storage equipment that would be required.
Okay, thanks very much for that.
Thanks for that, Mrs. Dobby. That just, I think, makes the case for that there is no economic case to be made for the closure, frankly, in my opinion, based on what we've just heard there. I appreciate it's a one-off cost, but it's very significant in relation to the alleged savings that would be made, notwithstanding all the other negatives, as Mr. Goodfellow and the Broughty Ferry councillors have all alluded to. But I'm grateful for your reply nonetheless, Mrs. Dobby. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor McHugh, you've already asked the question, but just for full clarity, I'll let you come in again and make sure everyone's got an opportunity.
Thank you, but I only ask one question at a time, unlike others. In relation to Caird Park, we read in the report of the Council's aspirations on biodiversity. What about our aspirations for health and well-being and an end to social isolation? Have we considered that? For older people and people with disabilities. Open space is fine if it's maintained, and we see what happened at Camperdown. But it won't of itself replace the vital socialisation people enjoy, having a round of golf with their pals.
Thanks for that. And you're right, some people do take the opportunity to get more than one question in, so that's why you're back in. Judy, would you like to answer that one?
Thank you, Councillor McHugh, for the question. Clearly, people who play golf, that is very critical in terms of the health, the mental and physical well-being. However, looking at the nature of the park and its usage by people just looking for walking and dog exercising, there is still scope for that to happen. We will look in terms of the other services that we deliver to see what mitigation we can provide for those that no longer have access to the golf, to see if there are alternatives that we provide that would be helpful.
Thank you for that. And you'd like to come back, Dorothy?
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. I don't have any further questions. Now, I do see there's a few amendments being looked at in the chat and also a deferral. Can I just come to you firstly, Councillor Duncan, and just ask, are you actually looking to defer the whole report, just for information?
I am, yes.
Okay, thank you for that. I might go to Mr. Menny just to get the process here. We'll have a deferral, Mr. Menny, and 2 amendments. Can you just advise on the process here, please?
Thank you, Convener. Can I suggest that the best way to proceed here would be to ask committee services to circulate the amendments which have been reduced to write-out? It's now been clarified, the amendment that Councillor Duncan wishes to move. And can I suggest that there's then a short recess to allow all members to consider those motions and amendments, and we can return, I can give advice on the order in which I recommend that they be taken.
Thank you very much for that. Can I leave that to yourself, Willie, to send the amendments to all the elected members? And we'll have a we'll come back at 10 to 7 and just give people time to have a break and also read the amendments and decide what you want to do. Thank you. a wee bit later. Can you just bring in Mr. Many, please, just to maybe advise on the process from here?
Thank you again, Convener. As members will be aware, there are 3 proposals before the meeting. And the first, in the name of Councillor Cordell, is acceptance of the recommendations in the report in relation to Caird Park and the Mills Observatory, and an amendment in relation to Broughty Castle. The second proposal before the meeting is in the name of Councillor Duncan, and that is deferral of a decision on all 3 services. And the third, in the name of Bailey Scott, is acceptance of the recommendation in relation to the Mills and amendments in relation to Broughty Castle and Caird Park. Councillor Cordell's motion and Bailey Scott's amendment include reference to the financial implications if the proposals were to be accepted. Since Councillor Duncan has simply moved deferral of all 3 decisions, I would recommend that before we decide the order in which these proposals should be taken, officers have the opportunity to advise the committee of the financial and other implications if Councillor Duncan's proposal that the decision on all 3 proposals should be deferred were to be agreed.
Thank you for that. So helpful. Can I bring in Mr. Emmett to maybe just give some advice to the committee on the implications of that financial if they were to be all deferred in the first instance, please?
Thank you, Convener. As Chief Executive pointed out earlier, the deferral of Broughty Castle proposal, the proposal in relation to Broughty Ferry Castle, would be possible because of the timing of the notice that we have to give Historic Environment Scotland around closing the facility. In relation to Caird Park, because of the timing of the contract, so the contract for the maintenance ends at the end of April, and therefore deferring of that would not be possible to then make a decision before a further contract had to be entered into. So either there will be a cost of entering into a new contract so the service can continue, or there would potentially be a gap in the service provision whilst the contract was re-provided for after a decision was made. Council does not indicate how long the deferral period would be for, and that would obviously play a part in when in relation to Broughty Ferry Castle, apologies, Convener. The cost of keeping the facilities open, we estimate around about £515,000. And just to highlight that that's a significant additional sum in the context of the budget that we are trying to set for next year, where we have a projected gap of 15.6 million, additional cost in the region of 6.2 million in relation to national insurance, though I acknowledge that we don't yet have a financial settlement, which is expected on Wednesday of this week for local government and then for councils the following week.
Thank you. Can you maybe put some context into that with regards to what that would be as a council tax rise, for example? That's about
1%, Convener, in round terms.
Right, thank you very much, Stuart. Yep, who's doing it? Yep.
Given that there's been quite a substantial amount came from Westminster to Holyrood, and there will be a budget set within the next few days, hopefully, or at least the proposals will be out in the next few days. Can you give me an indication of what COSLA would be looking for it as a fair settlement of that? And my understanding it's about 700 million that they're looking for local government. And what if that is the case? What would that equate for Dundee?
I think that's at the moment, because they're still in that negotiation with the Cabinet Secretary of Finance. So I don't think there's, again, it's speculation, but let's see if Mr. Emmett would like to make comment on that. But I think it's a bit more like speculation at the moment.
Convener, my understanding is that's an ask in terms of 700 million. I think a proportionate share of that for the city would be around 19 million if you were to do 2.8% of it. But I think that we clearly don't have any uncertainty on that. And certainly the news we've seen in the press suggests that the NHS is a priority. So I think we have to wait and see what the local government settlement says, Convener.
Thank you. I think we can't really preempt the budget. Sorry. I've just seen the meeting has been brought to my attention. The meeting has just dropped out, so I think we'll have another
possibly a 5-minute recess. We'll give officers time to get the meeting back online again. So apologies for that. It's going to be quite a busy night as it is. So give us 5 minutes, everyone. We'll have another recess.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. Thank you, convener.
Thank you for that. Can we go back to Mr. Menny, please, just for a wee bit more advice again? Sorry. Yeah.
And thank you, convener. The committee have obviously had the benefit of hearing Mr. Emmett's views. Can I also suggest it would be appropriate to hear from Mrs. Dobie and Mrs. Boyle, and Mr. Boyle rather, with respect to any other implications that there may be to the proposal for deferral?
Okay, thank you for that. I'll bring in Tony first. If you got some advice or recommendations with the rules of deferral, what would be the case from yourself?
Thanks, convener. specific proposal with regards to Caird Park would involve obviously the golf course remaining open. That would have implications for Mrs. Dobie to comment on. Obviously, if the golf course is to close down, we've detailed within the report specific costs associated with running the what would be the former golf course as a medium amenity park space. Thanks.
And Judy?
Thanks, Convener. I think the biggest challenge would be in terms of Caird Park and the contract with the greenkeeping service, but it's also worth bearing in mind the staffing implications and the need to ensure that our staff that are based at Caird Park are given sufficient time for us to look at other opportunities for them within the organisation.
Thanks very much. I think we've got all that. And see, Councillor Shear, do you have a question?
Yeah, thanks very much. Just to get some clarity, so in the report, the closure date muted for Caird Park is the 30th of April. So if we were to defer and bring this back after the budget settlement from the Scottish Government, say in January, would that still have an impact, or could we still get everything that needs done before the 30th of April?
Mr. Dale, please.
Apologies, Convener. The challenge is the contract would expire on the 30th of April, and therefore we could, if we were keeping the course open, then we could procure a new contract, and that would obviously come with the cost that we talked about before. If we were to not make it to take any action, then there wouldn't be time between the New Year decision and the 1st of May to get a new contract in place. So that process will probably overrun. So there will be a gap potentially in service provision at the beginning of May if we followed that route.
Could I have a follow-up?
Yeah, follow-up, yeah.
Thanks. And I'm struggling to see what difference a couple of weeks would make in that sort of a length of time. How long would we expect a new contract for the maintenance to take?
So, Convener, we'd have to go through a tendering exercise, which would take several weeks to prepare for and to execute. We hadn't had a lot of interest before, but we would want to make sure there was as wide an opportunity as possible to get as competitive a price. I think it will be tight, or probably that we don't think it will be achievable realistically to have an analysis from the budget back in front of you and a decision on that before the 30th of April.
Thanks, sir. Okay, Pete. Okay, Mr. Menny, again, please.
Thank you, Convener. On the basis that the committee have now heard from all the officers regarding the proposal for deferral, I would suggest that the order that you take the proposals is as follows, Convener. The motion in the name of Councillor Cordell, which is as I indicated earlier, first of all, against the proposal by Councillor Duncan that a decision should be deferred. It would also be helpful for the purposes of the minute if Councillor Duncan could indicate how long a period of deferral he is suggesting.
And Councillor Duncan, can you maybe answer that question, please?
I can do, but I'm not going to pluck a date out of thin air. I thought I might get to speak to this, and then I could give you my reasons for the moving deferral.
I think we're just trying to get the process in order, first of all. So you don't have a date for deferral?
It would be as soon as we know the local government financial settlement, as soon as practical thereafter.
Okay, thanks for that. Mr. Menny again, please.
Thank you very much, Convener. So the motion, which will be in the name of Councillor Cordell, will require to be seconded, and the amendment, which will be in the name of Councillor Duncan, will also now require to be seconded.
Thank you. Councillor Cordell, do you have a seconder? Yep, I see Councillor Short has seconded, and Councillor Duncan, just to confirm the previous, it's Councillor Shears is seconding Councillor Duncan. So we just go to vote.
The stage, Convener, speeches will be in order.
Okay, I'll bring in Councillor Cadell in the first instance to talk to the motion. And first, please, Kevin.
Obviously, this is referring specifically to the castle, and it goes without saying that my starting point on this was the castle and its grounds remaining open to the public. I was contacted by one of the ferry businesses, and they've allowed me to quote them here tonight. And they're saying, please consider a stay of execution to allow the Traders Association and local community to work together to find a solution. The council has spent millions recently upgrading the waterfront in the ferry. Close the castle and there soon won't be any tourists, local businesses will fail and shops will be empty. The one thing that the council can pride itself on currently is that the ferry is a thriving wee community, a lovely place to stay and visit. Please don't let it go to ruin. Now, it has been said by the deputation that the ferry's waterfront has been transformed over the last few years to widespread acclaim, and the castle is the very heart of that. So that is why it is incomprehensible to me that there would be any recommendation in any report that could lead to its closure. One of the ferry's biggest tourist attraction. Leisure and Culture's own website described the castle as a must-see attraction if you're visiting Broughty Ferry, and offers something for everyone with a changing programme of events, activities and displays. Now, Leisure and Culture's own figures show nearly 40,000 visitors last year, up from 35 the year before, and well on their way to reaching pre-COVID levels over this next full year. And has already been said that a large proportion of those visitors are in some way contributing to the area's economy and businesses. However, they are also a potential source of income for the castle itself, and that could help alleviate some of the budgetary pressures being faced. So that is why I believe far more work needs to be done to both market and utilise this iconic landmark. Now, as we know, the castle is administered by Historic Environment Scotland on behalf of Scottish ministers, and that is why those bodies, as well as Leisure and Culture Dundee and Dundee City Council, need to get round the table with any other interested parties to explore all possible opportunities and to make sure the castle and its grounds stay open to the public long into the future. It is my hope that this amendment will allow the time necessary for all those who are in a position to keep this castle the vibrant and open attraction it is, to start those discussions as a matter of urgency in order to ensure the castle's long-term future as a publicly accessible tourist attraction. Any other outcome would rightly be viewed as a failure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cadell. Councillor Short, so you're seconding. Do you have anything else to add?
No, thank you, Convener.
I understand you've got COVID, so we'll push you too far on that one. Councillor Duncan, would you like to speak on your amendment, please?
Thanks, Convener. And actually, I'd like to begin by saying that I could agree with almost everything that Councillor Cordell has said, and we've heard also from the deputation, the very eloquent deputation from the Broughty Ferry Traders Association. I think, to cut to the chase, most of us, certainly in Broughty Ferry, would like to see this attraction remain A, open, and B, not downgraded. Likewise, I think people elsewhere in the city hold very strong views about Caird Park, and we've heard lots of good reasons why that also should not be getting closed. My real concern tonight is that we're almost being asked to decide tonight on the basis of imperfect information. None of us actually knows what the local government financial settlement is going to be. We've heard from officers about the sky falling in potentially, etc. I'm not, all I'm trying to do tonight is to say we should not feel coerced into making any decision on anything tonight until we actually are in full possession of the facts. I think that's a responsible thing to do. We all need to be fiscally prudent. My group is, other groups are, and none of us should be deciding anything tonight until we know the full facts. And you've asked me when I'd like to defer this until. Well, it could be the budget, but frankly, I'd like it to come back as soon as is practical once we know the details of the local government financial settlement. That's the sensible thing to do. Right now, it's the elephant in the room. We don't know what money we're looking at. We're wandering around in the dark. We're making potentially ruinous decisions tonight when actually what we need is to find out what we're actually looking at, the financial envelope that we're going to be given, and then let's take a measured approach. And we've already heard tonight from various people, deputations included, that there may be other ways of keeping these things on the go. Other parties could be involved, other organisations. There is no imperative to decide anything tonight. And I think the people of Dundee would expect us to actually take a wee step backwards. Let's actually be firstly furnished with the full facts, and then let's make a grown-up, responsible decision.
Thank you. Councillor Shears, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, thanks very much. And just to echo Councillor Duncan's comments there, I'm glad that the administration are bringing an amendment to keep the castle on a delay while we look for better options. It's good that a vote for the motion or the amendment here will give the castle a better chance of staying open. So I'm very glad that is the case. But again, I think we're jumping the gun here. Scottish Government have got additional billions from the UK Government, which the SNP has been asking for over a decade. So why are we making this decision now when we don't know what kind of settlement we're going to be given on Wednesday? I totally take on points the comments of officers that it may see a delay in services being offered by Caird Park. And I think any regular user of Caird Park would rather see a delay in the golf course being reopened in May than closed forever. So yeah, I second this. I think we should be waiting until we know what the Scottish Government are going to be giving us. Once again, grateful for the SNP for bringing that administration in, and we know that they have the votes to get that through. But I would ask that we please put this on hold until we know what the settlement for local authorities will be, and we can make a more informed decision. Thank you.
Thank you for that, from all the contributions. I'm minded to go with the motion as it stands with Councillor Cardell and Councillor Short. I think the comment about fiscally prudent is quite concerning. The fact that this was a saving that was made last year, which had to be taken from reserves. And then if we add this on to further savings, which have just been put forward for consultation with regards to the 15.6 million, we're actually looking to currently look to cover at the moment with added pressures, never mind what Mr Emmett said about the possibility of employers' national insurance costs, which we are very unclear about and could add even more pressure on the local authority at this time. I see Councillor Black would like to come in.
Yes, I'd briefly touch on Broughty Ferry and say that this castle has a wonderful history and could be better marketed as an attraction. The English had it for a while. Grey family handed it over as ransomware during the rough wooing when Mary Queen of Scots was to be, well, they were fighting over who she should be married off to. The French and the French and the Scots together recaptured it from the English. There's been many other things throughout the centuries. It's been a military installation in the 19th century for submarines. It's a fascinating castle, and we can do better with the castle. And I would like to think that we'll be able to keep that castle open. So on the Caird Park golf course, this is really quite distressing. The idea of closing a golf course which brings people together, and also older men like myself, though I don't play golf, and enabling them to have a good social life, that's a really valuable asset, but we're going to close it. And why are we going to close it? Well, we're going to close it because I think we have demonstrated that we're not very good at running golf courses, that the golf course is in financial trouble, that we're subsidising every round to the tune of £9, we're told. And we're doing that. And subsidy is okay for valuable activities, and golf is a valuable activity. But we're doing that at a time when we are consulting on cuts to things like the Dundee North Law Centre, to discretionary housing benefit, to a whole lot of measures which directly impact the poor, the Save by the Bell Savings Project, the Discovery Credit Union. You can look at the consultation, and I hope that everybody does look at the consultation and see the true horror of the potential proposals in that consultation. And coming back to the ward of Strathmartin, the thing that worries me most about sports facilities in Strathmartin is the possible loss of the school pools. Now, I'm going to do my best to try and ensure the arguments against closing the school pools are put within the administration, and I'll do that as much as I can. I find it harder to find the arguments to support the continuation of the golf course, because it's not just about the way the golf course is losing members and is costing money. It's also about the way that golf is going in the country. You've got the chief executive of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club, or whatever they call it, it's St Andrews, the important one, saying that golf clubs around the country have not managed to find an attractive product which enables people to continue to join up the golf courses, so that golf courses are closing. The Hersal down in Lord Hume's property in the Borders has closed. Others are in danger. Even the Balmoral in Northern Ireland, which is a very famous course, is closing. And yet, of course, Dornoch is building a new course because it's so successful up there. It's a confusing situation, it's a confusing scene. But nonetheless, there is a definite downward trend in the use of golf, and there's definitely a downward trend in the use of Caird Park. Now, in terms of what we do with it, I've been looking for positives in a difficult situation. And we've heard how it can be used for walking. It could be used for cycling. It could be used for park runs. Yet another venue in Dundee for that very successful and growing sport. In terms of dog walking, well, I've tried to walk a dog through Caird Park, and of course you have to be careful because golf balls are flying everywhere. It will be a marvellous new resource for dog walkers in the city. There are so many things that could be done with it. You can regard this as a disaster, or you can regard it as an opportunity. And I think what we have to do is regard it as an opportunity. And so I greatly regret what will happen for the golfers who use it now. And I hope they'll be able to find other places to go. And I hope the council will find ways of making that easier. But I have to support the closure of the Caird Park golf course. I would rather see that close than see the pools in the schools close. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Black. I think that was very passionate. Billy McPherson, please.
Thanks indeed, Convener. And I agree with Councillor Black in one respect. It is distressing to see the situation in relation to the Caird Park golf course. Disaster or opportunity? Probably disaster if we close it. It's fine talking about the possibility of park runs and all the rest, but the reality is, take a look up the road at Camperdown Golf Course and the mess that frankly has been left in since it closed. And I seem to recall at the time the administration group closed against the opposition of the Liberal Democrat group and, to be fair, the Labour group and the Conservative member closing Camperdown Park. We were told that we were putting all our eggs in the basket of a continuing Caird Park golf course. The reality at Camperdown, of course, is it's been left to overrun, and it will be a very sad day indeed if we see this golf course at Caird Park, the only municipal golf course left, close. And that's the problem I have with with Councillor, or should I say the Deputy Lord Provost Cardell's motion, that it may do something in relation to what we're trying to achieve tonight, which is to allow a bit of a respite in relation to the Castle Museum, to allow for further discussion. And that's why Councillor Duncan and Councillor Sears are suggesting a deferral. But it would essentially close the golf course for sure. And I come to the fundamental point here, and it's exactly as Councillor Duncan has alluded to. We do not yet know the financial settlement. Now, what we do know is it's better than in the last few years in terms of what has moved from the UK Parliament to the Scottish Government. We do not yet know what the Cabinet Secretary for Finance is actually going to do with that, but it is certainly one of the better settlements from Westminster to Holyrood in the past few years. And I would certainly hope that the Cabinet Secretary for Finance will give real priority to local government, given the real challenges facing not just our council, but the other 31 as well. The point really is this. We do not feel, I know that Bailey Scott will move later to just commit to £500,000, but we'll have to be responsible here. And the responsible thing is that recognising the fact that we do not yet know the local government settlement, one, we should not be committing resources we may not have, and two, we should not be closing a much loved golf course when we could actually, at the other end of this, have the funding to allow it to continue. So why are we being, and Councillor Duncan made used a word which I think is very pertinent, coerced, because we feel coerced. There's been a real attempt here to say You make the decision tonight or it's all a disaster. I do not believe for a moment that in a couple of weeks' time, when we know the local government settlement, that we could not make decisions to based on that in relation to both the museum and the golf course in a much more knowledgeable situation. We have to be responsible. We shouldn't go committing money in advance of actually having that money. But equally, once we know the local government settlement, it would make far more sense to defer decisions until that date. Who knows? We might just be able to save both the golf course and the Castle Museum. And that is the responsible thing to do. So therefore, I am supporting Councillor Duncan and Councillor Shears in their move for deferral of this to the earliest possible date once we have more exact information. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you for your comments, sir. And I think we're not being coerced. I don't feel coerced into anything. A very difficult decision, yes. I have to be clear. I think Councillor Black's comments clearly showed that was a very much a difficult and passionate decision we're going to have to make as elected members. So I see no more comments or questions, so I think we'll just go to the vote, Billy, please.
Thank you very much. The motion by Deputy Provost Cardell, seconded by Councillor Short, is the recommendations of the report be accepted together with the adjustments as indicated in the document which was circulated in relation to Broughty Castle. The amendment by Councillor Duncan, seconded by Councillor Shears, is that the report be deferred in the terms as indicated. Convener.
Motion.
Councillor Anderson.
Motion.
Councillor Black.
Motion.
Lord Provost Campbell.
Motion.
Deputy Lord Provost Cardell. Bailey Dawson.
Motion.
Councillor Hunter.
Motion.
Councillor Lynn.
Motion.
Councillor Mills.
Motion.
Bailey Roberts.
Motion.
Councillor Rome.
Motion.
Bailey Soares.
Motion.
Councillor Short.
Motion.
Councillor Smith.
Motion.
Councillor Toland.
Motion.
Bailey Keenan. Amendment. Councillor Cruikshank.
Amendment.
Councillor Finnegan.
Amendment.
Councillor McHugh.
Amendment.
Councillor McCurvin.
Amendment.
Councillor Scullen.
Amendment.
Councillor Shears.
Amendment.
Bailey Wright.
Amendment.
Bailey McPherson.
The amendment.
Councillor Coleman.
The amendment.
Councillor Creighton.
The amendment.
Councillor Duncan.
Amendment.
Bailey Scott.
Amendment.
It gives you 15 for the motion and 13 for the amendment. The motion is currently carried.
Thank you. I see Bailey Keenan has now brought in a further amendment. Mr. Menny, could you just advise I'll just go straight to Bailey Scott's in this instance?
My understanding is that there is already a proposal before the meeting from Bailey Scott, which I would suggest be taken next, but it would also be helpful if Bailey Keenan could indicate the general tenor of his proposed further amendment.
Thank you for that. Bailey Keenan, please.
The further amendment would be that we note the report and take no further action.
Convener, in order to be competent, a further amendment would need to be substantially different from a previous amendment. Councillor Duncan's amendment was that the report be deferred from consideration until the result of the local government settlement is known. My understanding is that Bailey Keenan is moving a deferral simpliciter, i.e. that no decision would ever be taken on this. I would therefore regard that as substantially different, and in my view would be in order, though the decision would be yours, Convener. Again, however, I think it would be very important before that matter was debated and voted upon that officers had the opportunity to explain the financial and other implications of taking no action on the report.
Thank you. I think Mr. Emmett in the first instance, please, can you just come and repeat possibly what you said already?
So thank you. Just to reiterate what I was saying before, Convener, we estimate the cost of continuing to operate all the facilities will be an extra £515,000. for which provision would require to be made in next year's budget. I don't think I need to repeat my previous comments about that.
Thank you for that. And I think Tony and Judy have made their comments already. So I think in that instance, could we just move to Bailey Scott's in the first instance, then come back to Bailey Keenan's?
Yes, Convener. In order to be put before the meeting, Bailey Scott's amendment will require to be seconded.
Yeah, thank you for that. I have a seconder for Bailey Scott.
Convener, I won't have a seconder, but the standing orders allow me to move my amendment and have it recorded in the minutes. I don't necessarily need to have a seconder.
That's fine. I say you don't have a seconder, but quite happy to let you speak.
Well, I might convince people with my argument. There could well be a seconder after I've spoken.
I'll let you speak on it.
Okay, right, thank you. I voted for deferral at that last vote because I want to do everything I possibly can to keep all of these facilities open. But now that that vote's been lost, I think as a council we should now commit to continuing to support these facilities. There really should be no uncertainty about them remaining open, and we need to make provision in the 2025-26 revenue estimates to allow these to continue to function. I'm going to restrict my comments, Convener, to the castle because I'm a Broughty Ferry councillor and the castle means a great deal to me and to my constituents. So I'm going to speak about that. I don't think it should ever be up for consideration for closure because it's too important historically and culturally. And this came up at the budget meeting last February, and that was the opportunity then to engage with Historic Scotland. And I appreciate the amendment the motion that's been moved by Councillor Cadell, but the opportunity to do that was last February, because I understand it would take at least a year for significant engagement to be made with interested parties to allow us to move forward. And the amendment, the motion from Councillor Cadell, gives us till February. So that's 3 months with Christmas and New Year in between. I can't see what meaningful engagement is going to be done in that short period of time. I also found it quite incredible as well that this item came before committee without an evaluation of the economic benefits that come to Broughty Ferry as a result of having the castle as the anchor visit attraction in Broughty Ferry. And that really should have been part of this report, and it should have been commissioned as part of this report. And as the deputation had said that the museum doesn't just tell the history of the castle and its ornaments, it also features items on the town's social and commercial history, as well as the ecology, geology, and natural history of the area. It also hosts the nationally significant Orca art collection. I would say, Convener, that next year is the 200th anniversary of the birth of Provost Orca, and that gives an opportunity to run a promotion in the castle, which may help bring visitors to it. But all these items are specific to Broughty Ferry. And if the artefacts and the interpretation boards are taken away and put into storage or subsumed into the McManus collection, most of them won't see the light of day again because they're not significant to Dundee, they're significant to Broughty Ferry. It's noted in the report that the visitor numbers were down in 2023 compared to pre-COVID, but during 2023-24, when these numbers were collated, there was work going on to create the new cycle path in Broughty Ferry, and for a long period of time, access was restricted to the castle. People couldn't actually get to it without great difficulty. So I don't think you're comparing like with like. And although visitor numbers were down from the figures that have been quoted, the shop sales were actually up. So it just shows you with a bit of imagination, we could improve that the retail facility in the castle and generate more income. And I need to say, Convener, in respect of doing all we can to support Broughty Ferry and getting more visitors there, over the summer months, the public toilets in Broughty Ferry closed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because the department didn't have somebody working back shift to allow them to be closed later in the day. It's ridiculous when you're having all these visitors into Broughty Ferry that they can't find a place to go to the toilet. So all this joined up thinking needs to take place to make sure that we're doing the very best for Broughty Ferry and attracting visitors there. In closing, Convener, I wanted to refer to what Historic Scotland themselves have said about Broughty Castle in its statement of significance. When it talks about the contemporary use values, it says that Brodie Castle occupies an important place in the hearts of local people, not least because of its long-standing function as a local museum and community facility. It also says the museum and castle grounds are open all year round and popular with locals and visitors alike. And I emphasise this next part. The museum, rather than the castle itself, is undoubtedly the main draw. And as well as local history displays, the venue has a wide-ranging potential. And, you know, one of the potentials it talks about is as a filming location. Just look what Outlander did for the visitors to Doon Castle. We should be pursuing all these opportunities to try and make something like that happen. It goes on again to say that perhaps surprisingly, Brodie Castle functions more as a modern landmark than a memorial of its own past. And a fuller understanding of its complex historic role might enable this aspect of its potential to be fully more developed. And as a largely complete and roof property with strong local connections, Brodie Castle offers plentiful opportunities for education and interpretation, local community involvement and partnerships working with the local authority. So in my mind, Convener, Historic Environment Scotland will be very supportive of anything we can do to work with them to keep that castle open. There's the blueprint there. They've laid it out before us already. I don't think, though, just deferring it until February will make any significant advancements. We need to have a longer period of time to do that. That's why I'm moving that we should commit to keeping all these facilities open.
Thank you for that. And I don't see anybody wishing to second you, but I thank you for your comments and your input. And I think the comments with regards match up with basically what Councillor Cardell was saying with the opportunities. And it'll focus minds over the coming months up until that period anyway, for the opportunities for others to come and approach, as it's in the amendment from Councillor Cardell, which is just past the previous vote, and the economic benefits in that area. As you said, you've touched upon what's been done. The other points I'm sure officers will take on board with regards to the comments with regards to the local area, etc. As you don't have a seconder, we will not be going to a vote on that one. And but
I ask for it to be recorded in the minutes, though, Convener.
No problem at all. It's recorded, thank you. I'll just go to Billy Keenan for his amendment, and it's been seconded by Billy McPherson. So I'll let you speak first, Billy Keenan, and then I'll bring in Billy McPherson following you.
We obviously hoped for a deferral, given that the money that's to come from the Scottish Government is completely unknown. And again, obviously, in seeking that we note the report and take no further action, I think it's very similar. It is unknown. I take it, that we've had this consultation, the genie's out the bottle. So it does form part of the overall package of potential cuts. But given the fact that the money that we're getting into the city is completely unknown, if austerity is going to continue, and it's SNP's austerity that will be delivered in the city, and that would be kind of regrettable. I've never seen such a settlement coming over the sort of years that I've been involved in COSLA as their financial spokesperson, seen such a sum coming from Westminster in the direction of government. And I think that we would be premature to move to the closure of the golf course and letting another park in the city go to ruin, as has happened at Camperdown, especially when people are committed to playing golf in the city. It'd be ideal if we could keep that open. I think the case for Broughty Ferry Castle was made in the debate. If we're finding out that there is a storage cost that wasn't taken into account in the paper, and the paper was a bit flawed, and potentially there wasn't the saving to be made, so it probably should have been withdrawn. However, happy enough for the thing moving forward that you look at how to keep that open. But I think we owe to the many people that play golf at Caird Park to try our best to keep that course open as well. And that again is mated up against other cuts if they have to be made at the level that's suggested. So I'm not so sure we're needing to be there yet. It's really down to the Cabinet Minister for Finance, and she's an MSP for Dundee. I hope she's looking at the devastation that the 15 million would have cost. I don't think we should be making these cuts.
Thank you. I'll bring it Bill McPherson.
Thanks indeed, Convener. I'll keep this short because I think obviously the position has been well rehearsed, and I just want to second Bailey Keenan in respect of this. We would have preferred if this had been deferred until the outcome of the local government settlement was known, which is fairly imminent. And I think we're being rushed into a decision because let's be clear, this decision, if we lose this amendment tonight, that is the golf course gone. And with no absolute guarantee, I have to say, of the future of the Castle Museum. A bit of a stay of an execution, but with no guarantees. The point we would make is this: we're all responsible. We will all have to put forward budgets at the budget cycle, and we will have to take into account the costs of the running of these facilities or not. And we should do so with the maximum amount of information. So if we can't defer, we say the report should be dropped, that we should note it and take no action. But I think we all responsibly know that we would have to find the funding for these in our budget amendments come the revenue budget in the new year. And the point of the matter is this, that we should be making these decisions with the information, the proper information, the full information, not committing to $500,000 in advance of that, but once we have the full information on the local government settlement, so we can make a proper decision, a financially responsible decision in relation to both the golf course and the Castle Museum. Let me be clear. My group wants to see both these facilities, along with the Mills Observatory, which thankfully will be saved, but both these other facilities, the Castle Museum and the golf course, saved. We will move heaven and earth to try to achieve that, but we will do so in a financially responsible manner. And for that reason, I second Bailey Keenan in saying that we should drop the report at this time, and we will revisit matters once things are clearer financially. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you for that. I think it would be great if the Labour government actually passed on the 171 million that's been taken out of our pockets over the last, since 2008, and obviously the clarity on the ENIC and the clarity on the budget in general. And I think the Cabinet Secretary is the Cabinet Secretary for Scotland, not just for Dundee, and I think it's only responsible that she looks over the whole finances of the country rather than just one particular city. Well, I do expect her to be very welcome of any more funding which has been provided, but it's not to the level we actually expect to see within the country itself, and not be given the money we actually are due. So on that basis, I think we'll just move forward to the vote, Willie, please.
Okay, thank you very much. The motion by Deputy Lord Provost Cardell, seconded by Councillor Short, is as previously indicated. The amendment by Bailey Keenan, seconded by Bailey McPherson, is that the committee note the report and take no further action. Convener.
Motion.
Councillor Anderson.
Motion.
Councillor Black.
Motion.
Lord Provost Campbell.
Motion.
Deputy Lord Provost Cardell.
Motion.
Bailey Dawson.
The motion.
Councillor Hunter.
Motion.
Councillor Lynn.
Motion.
Councillor Mills.
Motion.
Bailey Roberts.
Motion.
Councillor Rome.
Motion.
Bailey Slars.
Motion.
Councillor Short.
Motion.
Councillor Smith.
Motion.
Councillor Toland.
Motion.
Bailey Keenan.
Amendment.
Councillor Cruikshank.
Amendment.
Councillor Finnegan.
Amendment.
Councillor McHugh.
Amendment.
Councillor McCurvin.
Amendment.
Councillor Scullen.
Amendment.
Councillor Shears.
Amendment.
Bailey Wright.
Amendment.
Bailey McPherson.
The amendment.
Councillor Coleman.
The amendment.
Councillor Crichton.
The amendment.
Councillor Duncan.
Amendment.
Bailey Scott.
Amendment.
That gives you 15 for the motion and 13 for the amendment. The motion is carried. That now takes the committee on to item 3, capital expenditure monitoring, which is for noting.
Thank you. Can we just say before we move on, we have a number of reports to get through this evening, which we need to pass because some of them have been carried over on a number of occasions. So I think we'll be hopefully working through quite quickly, and I could ask members to keep their questions quite clear and succinct in the early issues, please, in the attempt to get them through. So I see Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Convener. The rephasing of significant areas expenditure, as indicated at 6.2.3, 0.4 and 0.5, affected heating, bathrooms, kitchens and window upgrades is significant, over £1 million of slippage into 25-26. Are officers confident that rephased timescales on it actually be achieved, as we would not wish to see further spillage into the new financial year?
Thank you. Can I bring in Paul, please?
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. Just to confirm that these figures are based on the latest estimate as at the end of October. No reason at this stage to indicate that there's any change to that, although if there is a change, that will be reported to committee in due course.
Thank you.
I see no further questions, so we take that report as agreed. Next one, please.
Okay, thank you. Taoiseach, on item 4, revenue monitoring, rescue recommendations.
Committee is asked to note the content of the report and approve the recommendations. Committee is advising the Chief Executive and Executive Directors continue to take appropriate steps to manage current and recurrent revenue expenditure, including reviewing service provision and reducing expenditure. Councillor Duncan, please.
Yep, thanks, Convener. Briefly, with regard to the savings indicated at 3.2 on page 66, we've got 535,000 of uncommitted employability grants that are being used as savings. And the question really is, does that not impact on the ability to meet employability targets?
Paul, please.
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. I could confirm that the unspent grants relate to income that was received in previous years that hasn't been spent as of yet. With regard to any impact on the service, it would probably be more appropriate for colleagues from City Development to comment.
Mr. Presswood, could you go to speaker, please? Thank you. Can you go to please?
Yes, Convener, I confirm that we have had discussions with Finance over this, and we ultimately reached agreement that the element which was offered as a saving could be offered without any detrimental impact on the service.
Thank you for that. To answer your question, Councillor Duncan?
Yep, I appreciate the clarity.
Thank you. Bailey Keenan, please.
Yeah, it's really just to see some of the houses at the top of the hill have now been occupied, albeit they were about 8 years in the making, and wondering if all of the council tax was taken into account at the start of the budget setting last year, or whether there has been any increase in council tax collected over that period, given that it was about 160 odd houses there.
Thank you. We welcome the properties being occupied. And Mr. Emmett, please.
Thank you, Convener. So we've been doing a half-year review of council tax income, and we'll be reporting in the next to the next committee meeting, Convener, that there is an increase in council tax collection in the year, which will reflect additional properties coming online.
Is there any indication of what that sort of level would be, given that we've just got £500,000 out the budget tonight?
Mr. Emmett. So, Convener, we anticipate that the additional income is in the order of £1 million, and that will benefit both this year and next year, but we'll provide full details in the forthcoming report.
Okay, I see no further questions or comments, so we'll take this report as agreed. Thank you. Willie, please.
You take Sean to item 5, City Plan for Dundee. You rescue the proposals.
Reports presents the second annual progress report of the City Plan for Dundee 2022 to 2032, which was considered and agreed by the Dundee Partnership on the 5th of September, and the committee is asked to approve the recommendations. Bill McPherson, please.
Thanks, Convener. A brief comment, first of all, and I will keep it brief because I am aware of the hour, but in a way that makes my point. This has been deferred twice, 28th October, 18th of November, and something agreed by the Dundee Partnership at the start of September doesn't even find its way to City Governance Committee until the start of December. And my point is, and we've made it before, I'm not expecting officers to respond, but I know the Chief Executive will be listening. I've made the point before, as have other members of my group, that we could make far better use of the Monday evenings by not skipping some and ensuring that we had lighter content on a Monday evening, so we actually had the chance to not rush through things and to properly debate things. I have a couple of questions regarding the information on pages 91 and 93. On 91, it indicates that the youth unemployment rate in the city had increased from 21.7% in 22-23 to 31.7% in 23-24, which is quite a jump, and I have to say a little bit concerning. And also on page 93, that the percentage of working age people in employment in the city stood at 63.7%, having decreased from 68.8%. Again, not particularly good news from the position in 22-23. I'm just really wondering if officers can give an indication as to where we are in 24-25 with that, because I'm conscious that this is, in a way, historic information. And I was just really wondering if we could have some assurance that we've got a more positive direction than we saw between 22-23 and 23-24. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you. I'll bring in Mr. Presswood, please.
Convener, many thanks. In terms of the request for updated data, I'll have to pick that one up and provide it offline. In terms of the youth unemployment issue, the only thing I can confirm is that we are currently reviewing corporate employability structure. So we're looking at merging the youth and the adult teams, and that will take place shortly. And then the final point, I think, which was made was around the fact that there's only, I think, 69% was the figure quoted of working age adults that are currently in employment. I think the most substantial challenge there is that there's 22% of working age adults that are not that are economically inactive, and that would include the unemployed, but a significant number of people who have health or other reasons that they're not economically active. And the remainder of that group will simply be those that are in skills and education. But happy to come back with more up-to-date information on the other points raised.
Thank you for that. I think it should be noted the Discover Work conference you had quite recently was actually very successful in bringing all these groups together. And I think I can thank your team for that. Billy McPherson, would you like to come back?
Yeah, thanks. I'm grateful to Mr. Prescott for his feedback. Actually, the figure of 69 is actually 63.7 in the last financial year reported in the report. I would be grateful if, in responding, and it would be useful to share it with the whole committee, to get an update on the situation for both youth unemployment and the workforce unemployment for 24-25, but also what impact the changes that Mr. Prescott indicated in relation to the merger of the two teams, what the perceived benefits of that would be, because I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I would just really like more information on what benefits that would be. But I'm grateful to Mr. Prescott for his reply, and obviously we'll await further information in due course. Thank you.
No, thank you. I think Mr. Prescott's taken these notes on board, and I'll pass that information on to all elected members, I would ask. I think with regards to the other comments, I think it's important we don't rush through committee. It's just unfortunate there's been quite a lot of business and a lot of questions, a lot of scrutiny, which is what we're here for, and hence why some of the reports have had to be deferred on a few occasions due to the timings, or we would be here to some strange hour in the evening. So thanks very much. I'll take that report as agreed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Take on to item 6, City Development Service Plan, which is for noting.
Again, the City Development Service Plan is agreed by Council September 23. The report presents an update of the progress made on the plan to date, and the report is for noting. I don't see any comments. I lost me. Bill McPherson, sorry. Yep.
Yeah, just a very brief comment, and I'm not expecting a response, but I want to make the comment. On page 140, the Sustainable Transport and Roads teams indicate key actions, all of which are laudable. I've no problem with them. But what struck me really was the lack of any target in relation to specifically public transport. Now, I have banged on about timetables at buses, smash shelters, and all the other things about bus infrastructure. And to be fair, they're making some progress on that, to be absolutely fair to them. But I do think it is an omission that none of the action titles mention public transport. But I'll leave it at that, Convener. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. And I think Mr. Press will take that on board as well going forward. I don't see any further comments or questions, so we'll take that as agreed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 7 then is Antisocial Behaviour Report, which is also for noting.
The report provides an overview of the activity of the antisocial behaviour team for the period 1st of July to 30th September this year, which detailed analysis, figures and outcomes for that period, and the report is for noting. I don't see any questions or comments, so we'll take that one as agreed as well. Thanks, Willie.
Thanks. Item 8 then is communication strategy. You're asked to the recommendations.
Communication strategy sets out how the Council communicates externally and internally and how it supports the strategic priorities of the Council and its partners, and the committee is asked to agree the recommendations. Again, I don't see any comments or questions, so we will take that one as agreed as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Item 9 then is the annual Treasury Management Activity Report, which is for noting.
Support the views of Treasury Management Activity for financial years 23-24. And we're asked to note the content of the report and agree the limits in Appendix 1. Again, I don't see any questions or comments, so we will take that as agreed as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The remaining items are considered confidential, and the committee would wish to deal with these in the usual way.
Would committee agree to that? Again, no dissent, so we'll take that both as agreed. Thank you. That's the committee for this evening. Thank you.
you